This is just Bob Bowman, and I'm coming back at you with another video. And in this video, I am going to be talking about saving yourself before trying to save a community. And before we get started, I want to break down the word community. And if you really look at the word, you'll understand where it is that I'm coming from. And the first part of community is COMM, and then unity. Com is usually used for communication, computing. But if you look at it, it's more so communicating. And then you look at the word unity. So communicating in unity, doing things together in unity. Now, does the current climate of the so called communita fit that description? No, it doesn't. And also, if a man isn't able to communicate in unity within himself, how can he help out or save anybody else? That means if that man is suffering financially, physically, spiritually, emotionally, um, material wise, anything that you could think of that's important, how can he help out anybody? You see, a man that's broke can't give anybody any money. A man that's physically hurting and has a hard time walking around can't do things to help out the community. A man that nobody wants to listen to and they don't care about his opinions, they can't talk to anybody and they can't express themselves to help out anybody that's going through a bad time because nobody wants to hear what he has to say. And when I started making these videos, it was all about self-improvement. And that's getting your hygiene together, getting your wardrobe together, getting your money together, getting your material possessions together, working hard to the best of your ability at your job, getting yourself out of debt, learning new things, traveling, getting to understand cultures, and so on and so forth. Just becoming an overall better person, an overall more cultured person, coming up with strategies and plans to be able to maneuver the way that you need to maneuver in life. And it was a lot of things that I wasn't taught, and I'm not coming up here to like have anybody feel sorry for me or looking for sympathy, because at the end of the day, the only person that's responsible for helping me out and saving me is myself. And since I understand that, I cannot look for anybody to help me out or to save me. Most people, when they are looking at me, they're looking at me to do things for them. And that's just the reality of it. But if I'm in a position where I can't do anything for anybody, then I'm not going to force myself to do anything for anybody. Like Public Enemy, Flavor Flav said in the song, "I can't do nothing for you, man." That's my attitude towards it right now, because I'm working on myself. I'm doing things that I need to do for myself. I can't worry about the issues and the problems going on in other people's lives when I have my own life to live and I have my own decisions to make. Now, when I was younger and I spent so many years trying to help people out. I spent so many years volunteering. I've talked about this in many of my videos of what I've done. And I told you that the results of it was that I ended up finding myself in a dire situation, and I had to figure out a way to pull myself out of it. And I'm still working on that currently because, to be honest with you, August 2021, that was the beginning of me making the decisions that best helped me out. And it didn't matter what anybody else outside of my mind or outside of my body thought about those decisions. And so far, I've seen improvements because I started making decisions like that. That what best fits me. That what best suits me. And I don't care about another person's situation as much as I used to. I don't care if somebody chooses to have multiple children with somebody else. And then that person or those people that they had those multiple children leave them alone and they have to struggle and they have to suffer. It has nothing to do with me because I didn't help create those children. Like if I have a child, I would have to do what it is that I need to do to make sure that that child lived the best life that they could. That would be my responsibility as a father. But for some people to expect me to step up and take the place of these absent fathers, and these absent fathers most of the time are alive, even though some of them are in jail, but to take the place of these absent fathers and to get treated like crap and to get treated with no respect and to get treated like, oh, I'm they're doing me a favor by me helping them with their children. That doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm not doing that. And my life is already difficult. Like I'm already living with a lot of stresses in my life. I have work related stress that I have to deal with. I have stresses involving my personal situations that I have to deal with. The fact that sometimes I get lonely and I have to sleep alone and I have to do things by myself and I have to figure out how to make or keep the friends that I have so I keep, have those relationships. And that can be difficult at times because they have their own situations and their own struggles. And sometimes uh, a person doesn't fit into their lives perfectly anymore and they need to separate. And that's a part of life. And the older that I'm getting, the more that I'm understanding that that just happens. So, with that being said, I have to just focus more on myself, more on what makes me happy. And there are going to be individuals that will shame me for not going along with the program that's been out here for the so called average man. And to say that this so called average man is the lowest form of human, even though we have more money than so called Pookies and Ray Rays, is what they call them out here. And we still are not even given a smidget of respect. Like they respect the men that hop in and out of jail and throw parties for them men, but a guy that does his best to be a productive citizen, they look at him like crap. And I understand that nobody owes me any congratulation, any celebrations. I understand that. But at the same time, look from the outside looking in and I'm seeing what's going on, I'm like, man, like I'm really not seen as being of any value within the community that I was raised in, other than to be a utility. You see, Obsidian, he had a video that he put up where he shared snippets of an interview with a gentleman who was an absent parent to his own child and a woman who discussed men without children and how they are supposed to take up the baggage that's left in the community. And the woman in this clip that he shared said that they didn't want these men, but they needed these men. You see, and also she was saying that because we're not attracted to them, like, no negotiations uh, is going to be tolerated. If we don't want to have sex with these men, we're not going to do it. But we need these men to step up and help clean up the community. And I'm looking like, wow, like they really just want us to be selfless slaves. They want us to just allow ourselves to get brutalized and punished. And then at the same time, as we doing this work, we get shamed for being in that position. You see, there was a time where I would have been okay with helping out the community and just being able to just to be respected and not be gaslit, not be bullied, not be downtrodden. But you had certain individuals that couldn't help themselves and to be like, oh, you're not a man because you're not getting any women, or oh, you need to just holler at these women even though we know you don't like them. We know that you're not attracted to them, but this is all you gonna get. And then if I don't take the bad deal, as they call it, then there's something wrong with me. I'm looked at as the bad guy. I'm looked at the one that's the problem. And then you wonder why it's a lot of men that's getting their passports. And this is not me trying to bash individuals. It's about looking at everything from a logical perspective. You see what I'm saying? Like logically, we have to do what we have to do in order to have some form of happiness in our lives. We have to save ourselves, because if we don't save ourselves, we're going to drown with the rest of the community that's already in shambles. And as a man that respects himself, he shouldn't want to just give up and wallow in the failures of life. He should at least make some attempts to improve himself, his life, so he can become a better person. He can become a high value person. But you see, it's a lot of individuals that don't want to see men, the so called average men, understand this concept and improve themselves. They want to keep you where it is that you're at so you'll feel low about yourself. They want to exclude you because you're not going along with the program to kind of force you into going into the program. Like this has been going on for many generations now. But men are starting to wake up, and we're saying we're going to save ourselves because they don't want to be saved. The community don't want to be saved, really. They just want these men there to keep things in that community stable enough to where it'll survive. That's what it is. And we are at the point to where we're saying we're tired of being the batteries for the community. If we're going to use our energy, we're going to use our energy for what best fits us. And that means if we have to travel, that means if we have to move away from the places where we were born, if that means that we have to disconnect ourselves from certain people and certain situations, we're going to do so. And it is what it is. You see, I used to be so upset and so angry about the situation, but I can't be, because that's not going to change the situation. The only thing that I can do is change myself in the way that I'm approaching things, the way that I look at things. And I realized that the moment that I focused on myself and improving myself wholly, and that's regardless of how anybody else felt, I had a lot of pushback. But saving yourself sometimes mean making the sacrifices to where you're alone. Saving yourself means that you're going to have to be seen as the bad guy. You're going to be the bad guy in somebody else's movie, but you have to worry about your own movie. And in your own movie, a superhero is going to do what's best to save himself. And then if he does what he needs to save himself, then he can reach out and help out other people that want to be helped, that want to be saved. That's how it goes. But Project Pat had a song called Don't Save Her. She doesn't want to be saved. And a lot of these women don't want to be saved, but they need to be saved. And the person that saves them, those are the men that they don't want, but they need them, and they're going to treat them like crap the whole time that man is so-called saving them. And you think that we are just supposed to be stupid enough to keep going along with this foolishness that's been going on. Like at this point, I'm at the halftime of my life. If we using a football game analysis, I'm at the halftime. And for the first half, I've been down. And now that I realize that I'm going into the second half of my life, I'm re strategizing. And as I'm re strategizing, I'm coming up with ways to where I can overcome the defenses that's been placed upon me to where I can become more efficient to where I can win the game at the end. And that's my goal right now is to win the game at the end. It isn't to, you know, please anybody else. And I realize that this life is a marathon and not a sprint. And I'm trying to get to the finish line of that marathon. There's plenty of people that's winning sprints out here and thinking that they're doing something, but not understanding that life is a marathon. I'm about getting to the finish line of that marathon to the best of my ability. And that means that I have to focus on my finances. For me, I have to focus on my environment. I have to focus on my appearance. I have to focus on my personal hygiene. I have to keep the small circle of friends that I have, even if it's not that many. The ones that really want to be around me, it means that I have to make the best decisions for me at the end of the day. Like there are times where I will have to do things for other people, and that comes with the territory of life. But I understand that if I want to spend extra energy helping other people out, that's up to me. Nobody can force me to do anything that I don't want to do or that I don't think that is good for me to do because it's not in my best interest. If I don't want to date a certain woman that's in a certain situation, I don't have to. And I'm not going to surround myself with individuals that will try to shame me or bash me into doing so. It is what it is because I'm focused more on saving myself. And I also realize that saving myself, it means that I can't be out here chasing these 304s. And I'm not going to shame or humiliate anybody that does that, but I will say this: if you are dealing with 304s, you better put yourself on a budget, because if you're trying to stack up money and you not being focused on the overall goals of life, and you allowing these 304s to just siphon all the money from you, you're never going to get out of the rut that you're in. So put yourself on a budget at least. So with that being said, saving myself doesn't mean that I'm going out trying to help other people that's drowning while I'm drowning, and it might cause me to drown even further while they are saved. And that's happened to me before. I talked about my car getting burned down. Saving myself doesn't mean allowing myself to be around individuals that will shame and bash me for not being where I need to be at, and try to shame and bash me into the dating market to where they think that I belong at. If I don't think that I belong there, I should be okay with being by myself if that's what it is that I need to do in order to build myself up to where I can get what it is that I desire, or I will be able to move around. That means going different countries, going to different places, and possibly, just possibly, finding what it is that I'm looking for. Because happiness isn't guaranteed, but we as human beings should be looking and should be pursuing happiness in life, even if it's just momentary, even if it's temporary. That little happiness to keep you going and keep you motivated to keeping you putting your foot forward, keeping your feet going forward, moving forward in life. And I understand with saving myself, I can't allow myself to build myself up to where I have so much resources and so much material possessions to where I become a victim for somebody that just want to use me for everything that I have. And Man of Tomorrow, he spoke about that in one of his videos, and I want to give him credit for that point of view that he put out there, because you have a lot of men that do that. They build themselves up to a certain position and a certain extent, and then when they get there, they still haven't worked on who it is that they are on the inside, and don't know how to properly vet the people that surround them. And then those people end up taking advantage of that person and then stripping them all the way down to where they nothing again, and they have to start all over. And it happens in life. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me before, but I've seen it happen way worse to other people. And I listen to men like Man of Tomorrow, but saving myself also means that I can't depend on the advice of every person. I have to eventually figure things out on my own and take risk on my own, because life is all about risks. And sometimes bad things happen even though you didn't want it to go that way. It just happened that way. And as far as life being risky, sometimes it just happens, but you have to do the best that you can. You have to, and even when you fall, you have to get up. So I listen to people like Man of Tomorrow. I listen to people like Dennis Sperlin, Black Round 313, Black Mind, uh, Authentic Perspectives, Average Man Unplugged, MTR, uh, the Crypto King podcast. Um, I'm trying to think of all of them. I even listen to men like New Breed, also people like Minister Jap, who I don't agree with all his points. Um, there were people that I listened to that are no longer here. Like I didn't agree with everything that Kevin Samuel said, but I listened to a lot of what he said, and I've heard the message that he had for the so-called average man, and I've been applying it to my life. You see what I'm saying? So it isn't about just hearing it, it's about doing what it is that needs to be done in order to save yourself. Coach Greg Adams, that's another one. And like I said, I don't agree with everything that everybody has to say. Platinum Elite, that's another one. I don't agree with everything that everybody has to say, but I take the information that I can use for myself, and then I disregard the information that I don't need. And I understand that some of these content creators don't like each other or don't agree with each other, but that has nothing to do with me. The only thing that has to do with me is me focusing on saving myself, becoming the best version of myself so I can be in a better position. And it's not easy, it's hard. Like I said, I deal with stresses at work. Yesterday, I went to the gym and I worked out, and I was in pain because of my disability, but I still went through the workout. As I was walking home, I had tears in my eyes because of how painful it was. And I didn't even go as hard as what I used to several years ago when I used to go to the gym and spend at least 2 hours in the gym. I can't do that at this point. I have to take baby steps in order to get myself back to where it is that I used to be at. And it can be tough mentally, is besides being tough spiritually, but like in my mind, I'm like, wow, I should be able to do way more than what I'm doing, but I have to pace myself. Like, I'm getting older and I'm dealing with a disability, so I'm learning how not to be so hard on myself if I'm actually making an effort, if I'm actually making progress, and I'm taking the necessary steps. I'm going to counseling. I did a whole video about my personal hygiene routine on here and giving suggestions to other young men that might need it so they can be better. Like, I'm doing the work, you know? So I'm going to continue on this path, even though I know that it isn't easy. And I'm going to continue trying to save myself. So once I saved myself, I can then make a conscientious decision on what the next step that it is that I need to do in my life, because I will be saved at that point. And God only helps those who helps themselves. So when you have a lot of people out here talking about they saved, but their households are in disarray and their lives are a mess, they're fooling themselves. And God isn't going to come to save you. You have to save yourself, and then God will reward you for saving yourself. That is my perspective of it. But with that being said, this is just Bob Bowman. Please like, share, and subscribe the video if you like what it is that I'm talking about. Uh, please hit the notification bell. With that being said, I'm out.